Thank you very much, Del. The Fina Bureau members here, my fellow panel members, the Executive Director of Fina, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. And I'd like also to join my fellow panel members in thanking Fina for having invited us to share experiences of the Uganda Swimming Federation. I must admit that when I received the email from TSC, I thought they had made a mistake because Uganda or Ugandan swimming could be described to be in the shallow end of the pool, and we're trying to get to the deeper end, like the Singapores of this world. So I was a bit worried that maybe they had made a mistake in inviting us, but I think it's a good opportunity, and I would like to thank Fina and the organizers of this convention for having invited us to speak on behalf of some of the smaller federations that are grappling with development programs. And I thought that perhaps one of the best ways to spend the 10 minutes allocated to me is to begin by giving you a 30-second background to a lot of my colleagues that I work with in the Uganda Swimming Federation. Whenever I introduce myself and say I'm from Uganda, the first thing that most people say is Idi Amin. And we have learned as Ugandans to live with that particular brand of Idi Amin. But behind that, there's also a serious story to that, because the legacy of the Idi Amin era, for those of us that were swimming in the late 70s and early 80s, is that we grew up as young swimmers without a plan, without coaches, without direction, without internet. So basically, we were swimming by accident. The Federation had no calendar. So that is the backdrop of the Uganda Swimming Federation, which some federations here might identify with. So in the 70s and 80s, the entire system of government in Uganda, including sports, went into a state of what we can call disrepair. So that's why the title of my presentation is The Long Winding Road to Recovery. And I would still believe that we as Uganda Swimming Federation are still in the recovery mode. We are trying to get all the structures into place. Hopefully one day we'll have a hub like Singapore where we can have, we can host 6 multi-coded sports in one venue. But we're not yet there, but we're aspiring, and that gives me an introduction to my presentation where Martin Luther King said, you don't have to see the entire staircase to take the first step. And in the case of the Uganda Swimming Federation, we have taken that first step, and I'm going to invite you to see what we are doing in trying to see the entire staircase of swimming in Uganda. My presentation is premised on what is outlined on the screen, those areas. I'll give you a few statistics of what Uganda Swimming Federation is about, the key strategic focus areas that we have identified as a federation for ourselves, the key milestones, a few challenges, and then end with looking at the horizon in terms of where we hope to be in a couple of years' time. So swimming in Uganda is one of the fastest growing sports in terms of interest and take-up. We have close now to over 1,000 young swimmers who are interested. We have a growing middle class, but it's predominantly based in the urban areas of the main city. And that's one of our challenges later on that I'll talk about, is how do we then move it out of the current confines of the capital city. The Federation has seen or registered a number of achievements over the years. It was established in 1978, and as you can see, 1978 is an important year because Idi Amin was still in charge of our country, and in many ways that explains the kind of state of disrepair that a lot of our sports were in. We have a constitution, and this might look fairly simple, but for most of our federations, I happen to sit in the Uganda Olympic Committee in Uganda, and we control about 20 federations, and not all of them have what we'd call workable constitutions to be able to guide the development programs of the institution. We have about 32 affiliate members. Back in the 80s, we had about 5, so we've grown to now 32 clubs, mainly schools. We have a very vibrant members of the executive, 11 volunteers, who most of them grew up like me, swimming without a coach, without the internet, without any direction, without goggles. We're just swimming because we were passionate about swimming. So we didn't even know where we were going. We didn't even know there was Fina. We didn't know about the IOC programs. We're just swimming because we loved swimming. We have a secretariat with 1 member of staff and a lot of interns who we get from the university. And this has helped us design like our website and move things like that. We have annual general meetings. Again, this looks fairly simple, but for most of our federations in the 80s and 90s, most of them didn't have annual general assemblies. But within the federation, we insist, and I think this is one of the pillars of the governance program within the IOC and the current agenda of the IOC president, to have good governance structures. So we have an annual general meeting where we bring together all our members who endorse our entire calendar and development activities. That is our vision. We intend to become one of the leading organizations within the East African region. I see some of our colleagues from Kenya. Kenya is one of our big brothers, but slowly we're beginning to beat them, and we hope to even do much better than them in the coming years and days. The mission is to promote swimming as a healthy lifestyle, so this sort of feeds into the vision of the Fina president, and also to promote elite aquatic swimming in Uganda. Those are our key 6 strategic focus areas. I will not read them all out. I can just say that really they are structured around the athlete, coaches development, administrators, questions around financial sustainability, facilities, and strengthening our secretariat. So these 6 strategic objectives are what we present to our funders when we're trying to get development programs to support swimming within Uganda. So what are our key milestones for a small federation like Uganda? 1, we are deeply committed to implementing our strategic plan, which has the 6 strategic areas. We have an extremely motivated executive committee, which is very important for small federations like us that are working with a volunteer base. We are still toying with the idea, volunteerism versus professionalism. If we could hire a CEO, that would be probably the way to go, like what the cricket guys do and rugby. They support having a CEO in place. We value internal and external evaluations. At each of our events, we hand out evaluations, both hard copies and e-copies. This helps us to keep evaluating our programs to make sure that they are relevant to what our stakeholders want. We have introduced a number of new areas. The Masters Swimming, we were able to take part in this even in Canada, and water polo is also picking up now in 5 schools, and it's growing. We also try to run a number of community-based programs, notably the malaria swim. Last year, we were able to host in Uganda for the first time 2 celebrity ambassadors, George Bovell and Jajanga. They came to Uganda. And these really were able to spur the young kids, to give them the vision and motivation, to incentivize them to keep swimming. Because when they saw these Olympians in real life, it really changed their focus and attitudes. We have a secretariat, which is very important for our development programs, because without an office and a secretariat, it becomes a challenge. We are still trying to fund it adequately. We believe in having a development plan that is premised on a number of platforms. One is the Fina programs. We have been able to apply consistently for the various development programs and clinics from Fina, and we'd like to thank Fina for that, because we have been able to consistently train over now 100 coaches and about 32 officials. And recently, we also got an IOC clinic and scholarship for one of our swimmers, which was the first time, again, we're able to have a scholarship person, and we're hoping to see results from her because she's currently studying and swimming in England. We were able, for the first time this year, to host 2 major regional events, the Kana Zone. And again, here we're able to collaborate with some of our partners from South Africa who are here, and they brought a lot of valuable experience, because that particular program, as the pictures will show in a few seconds, changed swimming in Uganda forever, because they were able to see swimmers from South Africa, from Seychelles, from Zambia, swimming in Uganda. We also, in collaboration with other partners, run water safety programs, because as was alluded to in the morning, drowning in Uganda is a reality. We're a landlocked country, but we have a lot of land water bodies, like Victoria, which is quite big, and a number of the fishing communities, though they spend all their time fishing, can't swim. So we are running a number of water safety programs. And we have an up-to-date website. We also have, I think from there what I would say is that if I was to summarize it in that area, that we are a conflict-free Federation. Now, this might seem a bit innocuous for a number of you, but in Uganda, sports has a brand of being continuously riddled in conflicts between members of the federations. But in the case of swimming, this lack of conflict has been able to give us the stability required to roll out these various programs, which have led to a number of swimmers growing over to 1,000. We have over now 30 pools. When I was swimming in the 70s, we had only 5. But these 30 pools are largely private pools. So the challenge still remains how to have our own facility which we can control. We also value our engagement with the media, because this is very important to popularize the sport of swimming. Because as I'll talk about in the challenges as I try to conclude, is that the key challenges we are facing in rolling out swimming and our development program is that the legal and policy framework in Uganda is quite weak. We don't have a lot of support from the government. We actually receive $0 or shillings from the government. We have to depend on limited corporate interest and personal contributions from members of the executive, so it becomes very hard to run a country program on that kind of budget. There's also a belief that swimming is for the middle class, and therefore whenever we approach companies, they tell us, no, Don, swimming is for the elite swimmers. They're from the middle class, so why should we support? We want to support boxing or athletics, so that's a big challenge. We lack facilities, like most small federations. We don't have a 50-meter pool, and this is an area where we hoped Fina, through you, Del, maybe you could think about. That would be a game changer if we were to have our own 50-meter pool, which we could control. Technical officiating still remains a challenge, and the question of limited funding. So looking to the future, as I conclude, Chair, is that we intend, as the Federation, to build on this growing base of young swimmers. We have over now 1,000 from close to 50, 8 years ago. We intend to leverage a number of different programs that are out there, the Fina scholarship program, the IOC programs at all levels. We intend to cooperate with other bigger federations. So we've recently signed an MOU with South Africa and Kenya, and we're looking to maybe collaborate with US Swimming to be able to bring in coaches, officials to move us forward. We're trying to encourage to have more clubs, because we believe that the development program is hinged and premised on having a vibrant club system. Without the clubs, you can't have a meaningful development program. We're hoping to get a facility. We're trying to get the politicians involved and the private sector. And we've recently been engaging with Uganda Tourism Board to try and link sports and tourism, and also probably the health effect. And then the other area that we're trying to look at in the horizon is that we want, as the Swimming Federation, to stop depending on the universality places. Right now we have 3 swimmers who take part in the ongoing Fina championships, but we want to move away from the universality mentality and, as we said up there, qualify. And our vision and passion is to see 2 or 3 Ugandans qualifying for the World Games and the Olympic Games on their own merit and not depending on the 2 or 3 universality places that are in existence. And also we have rolled out Swimming for Health program, where we're trying to involve more swimmers through the master's program, and just as swimming as a healthy alternative to improving our lives. Now these, as I conclude, are just some pictures to show you the transition of Ugandan swimming over the years. To your left, you can see where we began a number of years. We had lane ropes being fastened by stones. That's where we came from. And that's the kind of pool I used to swim in when I was growing up. Then in the middle, you can see some of the development programs from Fina. One of the coaches, Rick Powers from the US and Gal Dotterman from Germany, have been consistently coming to Uganda. And on the extreme right is one of the private pools that has been built, and we have a partnership with the schools so that we can have access at a subsidized rate for people to swim in schools which are international schools, and we value that relationship, because without the partnership with the schools, we'd have no access to the pools. And then lastly, that is now how Ugandan swimming looks like close to 10 years later. This was our international event, which was a game changer. You can see the kids were very motivated, and this almost looks like any event. We had the corporate funders, a stand full of people, and we believe that this is the stepping platform for swimming in Uganda to improve. And if I was to conclude, it would be about developing partnerships, having a strategic focus, underpinned by vision and passion. Thank you very much.